Hello and good evening. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of HT Auto Live. In today's edition, we're taking a closer look at the luxury car segment in current COVID-19 times. And to speak to us about it, we are joined today by Mr. Balbir Singh Dhillon. He's the head at Audi India. Mr. Dhillon, thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time out to speak to us.
Good evening, Shubhadeep. It's my pleasure to be with you and with the viewers. And I'm most happy to share whatever feedback or knowledge that I have with all the viewers.
Right.
Good evening to
Thank you.
everybody.
Right. Straight off the bat, Mr. Dhillon, how challenging has it been the last few weeks? If you can just take us through what Audi India has been going through from the first phase of the lockdown, second, third, and now we're into the fourth phase.
So, as you can imagine, all of us are seeing this for the first time, and I hope it is for the last time for all of us. It's quite a challenging time for all of us, especially from the business side, but a little bit also on the personal side for all of us. So we are working along with our teams to mitigate the situation wherever possible and keep everybody motivated. So one of the biggest challenges that we have is to take care of our customers at this point in time, also our employees, our dealership employees, and all the stakeholders, our dealer partners. So we have to go through this together, and we are kind of engaging with all of them at different levels, so that we keep them motivated and come through these times. Most important for us as Audi India is the people safety. So it is the biggest topic that we face at this point in time, and whether be it our customers, employees of our dealerships, or all our vendors. So people safety is the first priority for us, and we are taking care of this. And not just safety, but during this time when it was lockdown, we have to also boost the motivation of all our employees and also our partners. So we are engaged with our partners from time to time and engaging with them and seeing whether how they are doing, not just within their family, but also our extended family, our employees at the dealership. At the same time, also understanding the concerns that they have at this point in time, and seeing whether we could pitch in somewhere and give some kind of solutions to our partners. So this is what we all have been doing. Apart from this, we also need to kind of tweak our, let's say, short-term planning. That also keeps us busy during these days. So I can only say on a personal side, if we were working 10 hours before, we are working 12 hours now. So while we are not selling cars at this point in time, barring a few dealerships that are opening up, the workload is actually more than before. But said that, we also have certain advantages that we don't have to travel at this point in time since we are working from home. So one is able to spend a little bit of time with family and engage with them a little more. At the same time, we are also seeing the digital world. We got into digital world long time back, but how important it is, we are only seeing this now, even more importantly after what we are seeing when we are going through this COVID situation.
Right.
Well, most importantly also, I think beyond this, I would say we have to also keep an eye on the numbers. Numbers, when I say not just the volume, but we have to keep in mind our profitability, our network partners, the profitability and liquidity issues at this point in time, and see how do we mitigate this situation as we move on.
Right. You've touched upon several things. I'll just try to get into a little bit more details in terms of my questioning. First of all, dealerships across the country have been facing quite a lot of challenges. What about your dealer partners? What are the sort of requests, complaints, if any at all? What are the challenges that they have reported back to you in over the last several weeks?
So, let me take one step back. We have devised a strategy 2025 for our organization, which runs for 5-6 years, starting the year 2019, and it runs up to 2025. So one of the pillars for strategy 2025, our 4 strong pillars, is sustainability, network sustainability. So we have been engaged with our partners regularly all this while we are stuck up at our homes to understand what are the pain points. So the pain points at this point in time for everybody, to be honest, is there is no liquidity in the business. There is no business. Business has come to a complete standstill. So there are expectations from partners that which we are doing wherever possible, whether it is in terms of reducing the costs for I would say stocks or wherever or there are some other initiatives that we could take where there are unnecessarily costs or the cost which we could reduce and still work with similar capacities. We are trying to do that. Uh, just imagine for a situation if we were doing training programs where we were flying in people from multiple locations to three of our training centers. Going forward, probably we'll do the trainings online, digitally. So all these initiatives that we are taking to improve the efficiency of the whole system, because this is the time when we need to be very, very prudent. We need to be very forward-looking, and there is a lot of focus on digitalization that we are taking at this point in time. Not just from what we did last year's, but going forward, the buying pattern may change, may see a little bit of a change. So we have to prepare for that. So what we're doing at this point in time with our partner is making them ready for what is coming. So that has been
Right.
the most of our discussions.
Right, right. I'll come to digitalization also in just a little bit, but before I come to that, how many dealerships now across the country are open, and how many workshops are open? If you can just give us a ballpark figure. I mean, because life is sort of slowly, gradually coming back to normal, in some sense.
So in terms of workshops, two-thirds of our workshops are now open. Of course, not in full capacity because there are limitations which are being given to us by the local authorities and as well as the central government and regulations that we have to follow. But two-thirds of the workshops are now open, and almost half of the showrooms are open. But with limited staff, but we are accepting cars, and if there is any problem that customers are facing, we are able to help them.
Right. Right. Now coming to the big phenomena in the automotive sector, not just here in India, but the world across, companies are now strengthening or starting to go online, to use digital platforms, not just to purchase new vehicles, not just to attract new customers, but also for existing customers who can book service, get pick up and drop facilities and all of that. So basically, we're seeing a sea of change in terms of how a car is purchased. How do you see that happening at Audi India? How do you really feel that this is a more of a permanent fixture rather than a knee-jerk reaction, to so to speak, to the current times?
So I personally believe digitalization is the way to go. So not just now, we have been investing heavily into digital world. Obviously, it takes time because we have been investing for almost 24 months now. Not investment when I say it is not just money, but it is also, I have a dedicated team that works on digitalization program. So firstly, we have to imagine what is going to happen next 3 to 5 years time, and then we have to design those things and implement. Some of the things will work, some of the things will not work. And by that, sometimes it also happens that by the time you design and develop something, something new has already come in. So, this is the digital world. So digitalization is one of our focus areas. Last year, we already did a lot of work on this topic. So augmented reality and virtual reality, these two topics we addressed last year. So all our showrooms are equipped with virtual realities where you can, in a 3 dimension, you can see the car, you can design your own car, and you can place an order of your own car. You can see the car in 360 degree, and you can see in augmented reality all our cars. So this was one initiative that we took. All our cars from last year, October onwards, what we are selling, they're all connected. So when you buy our car, you can also download our app, Audi app, and My Audi, and you can see what is happening with your car. Most of the data of the car you can see on your mobile. You can play around with while the car is not being run, where it is. So all those things, possibility, if your driver is driving the car, you can see what speed is he driving at, what has been the mileage on the car. So there's so many things that you can do. This we already did last year. Now the next step that we have taken now very recently, last week, we have launched online sales program. So what it happens, it gives end-to-end solution from research of a particular car to looking at the features to seeing the cars inside out 360 degree. You can also scan the barcodes, and you can actually through augmented reality place a car in your garage, in your house or in your drawing room, and then also book the car online. and you can book the car online. Eventually, you can also pay fully online, and the car could be delivered at your home, fully sanitized. So we've reached end-to-end solution when it comes to online sale. Said that, I think we also very clearly in the luxury space, we very clearly know that customers do want to engage before they buy the car. Now, this is a physical engagement which will be required. So, what we call it a phygital world. It's a physical and digital combination of phygital. This phygital world is where we exist. So these are very aspirational buyers who buy our cars. You know, we sell dreams, we sell emotions. Car is a byproduct. So maybe I would say if customers were spending, let's say, one third the time online and two-third the time on physical engagement of test drives, negotiations, etc. Maybe they'll spend half the time online. Maybe they'll spend two-third the time online and the balance one-third to half the time still coming to our showrooms, visiting the showrooms, seeing the car, test driving the car, engaging with our salespeople, because the cars are technologically very heavy, all of these cars. So there is a lot of engagement that happens. Customers read a lot on these cars on online channel, and then eventually they talk to our sales teams across the country. They compare our cars to competition, and then eventually they bring in their family. They drive the car. They feel, they touch and feel the car, the smell of leather, and then the decision is taken of buying. So I think this emotional buying will still engage our customers into our showrooms, while digitalization will play a big role as we move on. So it's going to
Right. So
be a
it's
digital world.
right. So it's more about finding the middle road, and that road is going to lead into the future. That pretty much
Yes.
makes sense. I mean, people would want to sort of look at the car information and yet take a test drive, and for that, physical is important aspect of it. I'm taking a look at your website, and although the entire interface looks as sleek and as clean as Audi showrooms, I see three products currently. I see the A6, the A8, and the Q8. Um, First question, the question has two parts. The first part of it is how have these relatively new cars been received in the Indian market? Secondly, when do we see more car in that virtual garage of yours, of
All right. So
Audi's?
first question first. So when we were moving from BS4 to BS6 from 1st April, we had to take certain decisions when we bring which models and what technologies and everything that we bring in. So we had made two very strong decisions for Audi in India. First decision was that we will bring only uh, completely new models to India, or it will be the next generation, or at least it will be the product improvement. So we will not continue to keep the same cars and just change the engine technology. So this was one big decision that we took. The second decision that we took was that we will move from diesel and petrol combination to petrol and electrification in the futures to come. As you know, Audi as a brand is investing heavily into electrification, so there will be also electric cars coming into the country. So these two decisions that we had taken. Uh, as we move on, you see only three models right now, but as we move on, you will also see more products being launched by us, not just in the space of volume, but also in the space of sports vehicles. So we will also see a lot of RS models coming in and also volume models. Coming back to what we have launched so far, the first model that we launched was the A6 in the month of October last year, followed by uh, the Audi Q8 in January and Audi A8 in February. So far, amazing response, I would say. Since we only sell petrol, so there could be still some customer who only wants diesel. But we are engaging with them, we are educating them, we are trying to share with what new technologies bring, all put together. And by the way, all the cars that we now have, they're all plug-in hybrids. Sorry, they're all uh, mild hybrids, not plug-in hybrids. Sorry.
Yes, yes.
So I think in general there is a lot of positive acceptability of the new technologies, and we don't really see a big negative of not having diesel cars. We anyway moved from 5-7% of diesel cars way back in 2013, 2014 to almost 30-40% petrol anyways. So there is already a shift happening, and we want to push it to the next level.
Right, right. But what is the fate of the diesel inventory and diesel products? in the Audi garage, and you've said that you've not, in the past, you've said that diesel has not been ditched and dumped completely, and it's still under consideration. So, is there an update that you can share with us on that front?
At this point in time, I think I maintain my same statement that diesel is not off the cards. We are still contemplating, evaluating. But when you take such decisions, they are not decisions which can be changed within 6 months' time. So when we take such bold steps, we have to move on with bold steps for at least I would say a year and a half, 2 years to see their full impact, positive or negative, whichever way it is. So we will have to run past that time when we see the impact of our decisions, which I'm pretty confident will be positive, and then we will take a call if we need to bring in diesel vehicles. As I said, our
Right.
priority is petrol at this point in time, followed by electrification as we move on.
Right, right. Since you have been mentioning electrification, are we seeing the e-tron coming anytime soon, or are those plans affected by the current situation?
Well, I will answer this question in general because it is not just e-tron. In general, because of this COVID situation, everything and anything that we are doing has an impact in our business. So what I would say is our medium to long-term plans are all intact. When it comes to short-term plan, when I say short-term, mostly let's talk about this year. There'll definitely be certain adjustments that might be happening. Just to give an example, if this quarter we were supposed to launch certain models, we will move them to next quarter, or maybe another one on model to the fourth quarter of this year. When I say fourth quarter, means October to December quarter. But there are certain initiatives that we pre-poned. For example, digitalization, online sale. This is something which we were supposed to launch in, let's say, third quarter this year. This we have pre-poned. So keeping in mind these short-term situations, we've made these minor changes here and there. But yes, e-tron will come to India. I'm not going to share the timeline at this point in time because there are many products which are coming. Let there be some suspense, but just be in touch with us on our social media channels, and we'll keep you updated from time to time.
Right, right. Some of the other exciting models in the lineup, and a lot of people have been very curious about them, is the new updated Q3, the possibility of getting the Q2 and the Q7. Now, SUV clearly has been this point of strength and power for Audi. All of these are in the pipeline, and would you confirm once again that COVID-19 situation has not had a serious impact on any of these?
So I would say hold your breath. Many products are coming, and you see all the new products which are being launched worldwide. They're amazing looking products, and with the latest technologies which we are developing through the world, we will also bring for all this for our customers in India. So hold your breath.
Right.
A lot is coming.
Right, right. My next question is actually about buying products, the existing products or the products which are upcoming, and when they do. Do you feel because of the current situation, and especially and specifically in the luxury car segment, people would perhaps go from buying aspirational, from aspirational buying to need-based buying, and the possibility of something like that, if at all, taking a toll on the luxury car segment?
So I would say there is no doubt for the short term there is definitely going to be an impact. I'll be fooling myself if I say there is not going to be any impact, but that's primarily on the short term because most of our buyers are let's say comes from business communities. So at this point in time, all the businesses are impacted. So when the lockdown opens, wherever it opens, the first priority for everybody will be to go back to their offices and see how the things are, settle their business, let it bring back to normalcy, and then eventually start buying the car. So I don't think so. We are going to have a long-term major impact. Short-term, for sure, I believe. But there is another school of thought which I would share with you. Let's say, there is also something called Zolo culture, where you only live once. So even this is one thought. We've gone through this for the last 60 days, where every day you're only seeing negative news. Every time you open TV, you're only seeing this negative news. So once you want to go out, you would also want to spend on yourself or your family. I also believe there'll be also focus on personal travel in your own cars rather than let's say if you have to travel between one city to another rather than going on a train. Maybe you would prefer to drive in your own car, but probably that could maybe helping volume segment more than luxury segment. But I don't think so long term there will be too much of a negative impact. Short term for sure, but as the businesses come back on track, we will come back on track as well.
Right, right. In the short term, Mr. Dhillon, and the medium term, do you perhaps see uh, the used car segment, especially in the luxury car category, and you have the Audi approval? Do you see a shot in the arm of sorts with people who perhaps before had plans of buying a brand new vehicle now moving towards a used Audi?
Absolutely, yes. This is one of my personal and favorite topic as well. Audi Pro Plus is one of our core pillars of strength, and not just for selling cars. What we do is through this vertical, we try to bring more and more potential buyers for the future Audis into giving them Audi experience ahead of they buying a new car. So this is definitely one channel where we are very very clear focus. You see, last year in general, the overall luxury segment declined, but for us in the pre-owned car segment, we actually grew by 11%. And I clearly see this growing even faster this year. Of course, you have to keep this couple of months impact on the side, which nobody is able to cover. But in general, this is the way to go. Audi Approved Plus and used car programs are going to be a major drivers for us, and we very clearly have a focus that we must sell every car twice at least, if not more. So when a customer buys a car from us, we want to buy back the car from our customers and eventually sell this car to another customer who would be our potential buyer for the times to come for new cars. But for the time being, he enters into Audi's world through a pre-owned car program. We have extended warranty available. We do a proper check before we sell these cars. There are finance is available. So we want to make the experience as smooth as a new car, and at the same time we are able to give an Audi experience to customer ahead of times. So
Yeah, but do
yes,
you see the traction increasing specifically
yes,
because of the
absolutely,
situation? Right, right.
absolutely.
Right, Mr. Dillon, we'll just take a quick user question. We have Sunil Vermani. He's watching this on HT's Facebook channel, uh, and he has posted a question, and he says, "How does Audi plan to conduct operations in showroom and workshops, given the challenge of physical distancing? How does a customer meet dealers under current situation?" That's his question.
So good evening, Sunil, and thank you for the question. It's very, very important question, and thanks for asking this. What we've done is, along with our teams in our plant, who are engaged in, developing multiple programs for our factories, we have also looked at similar programs for our workshops and our showrooms. So we have prepared guidelines in line with what the guidelines we have received from the Government of India, also WHO. All these practices put together, we have created proper guidelines for our showrooms as well as for our workshop. So sanitization is very, very important. It was always before for luxury segment, I would say, but I think it is going to the next level now. So there is definitely will be a social distancing. All our sales people or an after sales people will be maintaining, and people who would be working in the workshops will also be doing the same. And one is facilities sanitization. The second is car sanitization. So that is another topic which is of very very importance to us. So whether your car is coming to our workshop, we have to also take care of those cars. So we have made programs which have been shared with our partners, and we've trained our sales and after sales team across our network on these subjects. So whenever the showrooms and workshops are opening, they are very very clear about this, and every day morning there'll be morning meetings where we will be emphasizing on the subject, because you have to also understand culturally, we tend to start things and then forget after some time. We need to reiterate these things on a day-to-day basis to our teams so that the focus doesn't go away from these subjects. So yes, you're right, we very clearly focus on the subject.
Right. Sanitation is cleanliness, hygiene. These are the buzzwords of our current times. But which brings me to my final question now. I mean, there is this age-old comparison between the Indian market and the Chinese market. And for this interview, I just want to go back to that perennial comparison. The Chinese market, even in pre-COVID times in 2019, even when the sales generally were down in the Chinese auto market, the luxury car segment there was still performing really well. The Indian luxury car segment, not so much. There has been some voices which ask for GST relaxations and for luxury cars to not be treated as sin goods. What are your views on GST specifically, and why is the Chinese luxury car market so far ahead of us?
So it's going to be a long answer, by the way. It will not be a small answer. Um, no doubt, India is one of our future markets where we see we are investing, keeping in mind that India is going to become a big market for luxury segment as we move on. We anticipated this already to become a big market by now, but so far it has not happened. But I think in the times to come, this is the way to go. Luxury segment is only about 1.2% of the overall car industry in India, which, if you see Southeast Asian markets and China, for an example, this segment is between 5 to 10%, depending on country to country. Um, I think our taxation obviously are one of the highest, I would say, in the world, and there are multiple tax on tax on tax. And GST, not just GST, but you also know in the luxury segment there is also a cess. So the GST and cess combination itself is between 43 to 48%, and on top, registration for each state ranges between 10 to 20%. So by the time a car is on road, and by the time it is manufactured, the road that it travels on the taxation is huge. We have been always requesting government to keep the taxation rational on GST side or the cess side or the registration side. So far, we are still waiting a positive news on this. But yes, this is one of the factors that is keeping the car, the luxury segment, suppressed a bit. But as we move on, I still believe that we are on the cusp of growing large. It's only a matter of time, because at the end of the day, you also remember that when GST was introduced, the cess was kept for 5 years. So I hope that 5 years remains 5 years, and at some point in time that cess goes, which reduces the GST overall component quite a bit, and then we will also grow as the transactions price will go down.
Right, right. But for the time being, with revenue generation being as important as it is in the current situation, GST and removal or reduction is something. Would you say that for the time being, it is definitely not going to happen, in your opinion?
So you saw Government of India has taken a lot of initiatives, but most of the initiatives have been taken on the supply side rather than the demand side. So I think both things have their own importance and both of the things work. So as I also mentioned, that most of our customers also are business community. So whatever initiatives government has taken on the MSME sides, I'm sure that will also help with our customers to bring their businesses back on track, which eventually generates demand. If there was a GST reduction, it would have been given a straight benefit to the customers who are buying cars. But I think it's a combination of both. Sometimes short-term initiatives give a short-term impact. I would say the demand side initiatives give a short-term impact, but a supply side initiatives gives a medium to long-term impact. So I would imagine that the impact of the support programs that government has given will give us a long-term positive impact.
Right. I know.
think
I said
also
my.
as we sorry, I think also
Sorry, please
you
go on.
also see a lot about a lot of businesses moving from other countries to India. So if that happens, the overall growth of the whole country happens. That all is good news for us. I think there are just 22 cars per 1,000 people in the country, and there is a lot of mobility. Automotive has to play a big role as we move on. It's a very large segment, and we believe in the story of India, and we continue to invest. And I'm sure we will grow as we move on.
Right. I know I said my previous question would have been my last, but please do allow me to ask you one final question. When we last met at the Skoda Volkswagen India 2.0 project, you had said 2020 is a very important year at Audi. Is it a year now, how things have shaped up over the last several weeks and months? Would you say it's a month to forget, not just for Audi, but for the entire automotive industry before things look up, possibly pick up next year? Is that a fair assessment?
I would say, we have to forget this year. We will always remember this year, because this year we will make many changes and the way we approach to our business, the way we work. I think we will all remember this year, but we will remember this year not just for the pandemic, but we will also remember this year for a lot of positive things, or a lot of positive decisions, or a lot of good decisions that we would take during this year. So I wouldn't say that it's something which we need to forget. We will remember this, but we will also remember this of making many initiatives like, let's say, digitalization. So there's a lot of focus that has come. It had to happen. It had to happen a few quarters from now, but it is happening now. So these are changes that we made. So we still remain very, very positive. And 2020 for us will be a big. Not everything you can draw from the numbers that you're selling highest number of cars or more number of cars. In general, I think the decisions that we have taken for the country as an Audi India will give us a lot of impetus for the future, and we are just rolling on our sleeves and moving positively ahead for a bright future for all of us.
Right. Positivity is another one of those important takeaways once we move forward. Mr. Dhillon, thank you so much for taking the time out and giving us an insight into what all Audi India has been up to and the future plans. And we'll be surely be very curious in the times to come.
Thank you so
Mr.
much,
Dhillon,
Shubhadeep.
thank you so much.
It was a pleasure, and good evening once again to all the viewers, and thank you very much for joining.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.